wife listen to my show. Those are my two listeners. And I've been doing this for a long time, 15 years. I've interviewed presidents, past presidents, senators, state senators. Never have I been at a loss for words. After listening to Professor Noboa tell me how bad I was as an American, I got to tell you, I was ready to have a 9mm sandwich sitting here. Let me tell you about American exceptionalism. Let me challenge you with the notion as to what makes us the greatest regardless. Because I'm a regardless guy. I'm not a quota guy. I'm a regardless guy. Let me tell you what regardless looks like here tonight. Two wonderful men, of which I agree with some and disagree with others, fighting for a position that is a volunteer position. They will not get a nickel. And let me tell you, for the benefit of regardless, if we discount this by giving a rat's you know what about their race or ethnicity, we discount the value of what they're doing as Americans and the power of this region. So if I'm a quota guy, I'm rock solid. These are a couple of Hispanic guys. If I'm a quota guy, the most powerful man in the world is a man of color. So we're done here. But for those of us that are regardless people, and we don't spend a lot of time reflecting on such things, we're not nowhere close to being done. We'll share with you some information about the State Board of Education here this evening. When I did my research, I was challenged to learn a little bit about the SBOE. Much like our local school boards, we don't know a whole lot. We don't understand that these guys in the local school board take as much money as the rest of the taxing entities combined. That's what we pay for education, and you know what? We should. We should. It's our responsibility to see to it. That's the silver bullet. I don't deny that, but let me share with you what our State Board of Education has done by way of performance. I'll give you first the mission statement as the TEA lays it out, and then when I tell you what they failed to do, we'll balance it against their mission that each of them said they were willing to do. The TEA says that they're charged with establishing policy and providing direction and leadership for the Texas public school system. By adopting policies and setting standards for educational programs, the board provides the direction necessary to enable Texas schools to prepare today's school children for a successful future. So here's some numbers to put things in perspective, how magnificent a task this is, to be sure. 1,235 school districts, EPISD, Gadsden, over 1,200 of those guys. Campuses, we spoke about closing a few, unfortunately. There are 8,300 in Texas. Schools, if you will. 640,000 educators and other employees, of which my wife is one, Charlie's one. 4.7 million school kids, of which I still have 3, one's off at college. Based on ACT test results of 2010 graduates, let me share with you what the State Board of Education has provided for us by virtue of a product. Because at the end of the day, I'm not an educator, I'm a business guy. This is all about performance-based results. It's about understanding what good looks like and holding folks available, or holding folks accountable to whatever standard that they themselves provide us here this evening. So let me hit you with some numbers, and they're ugly. 4 in 10 seniors did not meet the college readiness benchmark for English. You know what that means? 4 in 10 kids going to college have a 50% chance of making a B in an introductory English class for credit. Not remedial, I got one about that too. That means 4 in 10 of our kids will go to school unable to take the most basic English class. And guess what? 4 in 10 is a number that's as good as it gets. 5 in 10 seniors did not meet the college readiness benchmark for reading. Think that's ugly? 6 in 10 did not reach those benchmarks for mathematics. And the grand and glorious number? 7 in 10 seniors did not meet the college readiness benchmark for science. 3 kids went to college in Texas that were ready for college science. 3 out of 10. And what about the kids that aren't even going to college? Let's not forget those guys. These are numbers that are readily available. These are the ACT numbers based on scores they took that would show us how well they were prepared to go where they went. The Dallas Morning News reported a full 70% of college freshmen will need remedial help in reading, writing, and math. 7 in 10. I gave you those numbers. Here's where it gets really ugly for a business guy. While this is a tragedy itself, the cost of the failure to perform to Texans for the remedial classes our universities provide is $80 million a year. We pay $80 million of our very hard-earned tax dollars, of which there are very few, to put kids in classes so they can be prepared to go to a class for credit. Remedial's a freebie. You sit in a class for a semester. By the way, proud graduate of a remedial program, I don't mind telling you. I went to school in Georgia. We weren't famous for educating people to go to college, let me tell you. You sit for a semester, you take a class, you hopefully make an A or B or C, and you get out of there, and guess what? When you leave, you got 0 credit. That's where the $80 million comes from. So if they're on financial aid, if they're on tuition assistance, if they're on any programs like that, that's for nothing. They can't transfer them, they can't use them for their university, but they have to do it before they can get into a real class. You guys are sitting there, you ought to be a nervous wreck right now. You guys are getting hosed. Texas is firmly in the center of the bell curve with regards to, these are other myths here. Our classroom sizes, about average. In terms of teacher to student ratio, I checked. Some are a lot better, some are a lot worse. We're on that big part of the bell curve. Texas pays dollars per child according to the 2008 census, about in the middle of the bell curve. And you want to talk about getting nothing back for your money? We rank on a good day 48, on a bad day 49th in high school, middle school, and elementary school performance. Talk about no ROI. Forget the political nonsense. Look at it from the standpoint of dollars. Who in here has someone that they would pay to produce a next to last performance? Because that's what you're doing. Now, Mr. Garza and Mr. Nunez may be doing this for a volunteer, but the fact of the matter is the organization they're responsible for takes a ton of your money. So if you look at this organization and you're getting 48th, 49th, would you do that with your insurance guy? Of course not. If your grocery store was the 48th most expensive grocery store in El Paso, would you drive past it on your way to buy groceries? Of course you would, in New York Minute. And yet for some reason we've decided to settle for education, number 48, number 49, and yet we're paying a fair wage to our teachers based on the national average. Our class sizes are fair based on the national average. Our dollars per kid are fair based on the national average, and we're getting hosed. 48 or 49 is a product. We'd have fired it a long time ago if we had the choice. I would submit to you, you have a choice this evening. You can choose to concern yourself with a quota system. Make sure the books are filled with the right colored people in the right places. And we'll continue to be 48 or 49. I have a history degree. I know who did what. And let me challenge you with another notion. You don't learn history till you get out of high school anyway. It's great to read the books. It's great to learn the general stuff, but when you really learn history is when you're in the professor's class and he's wearing you out about stuff that you can't remember, that he's going to test you and hose you the next day on, I'll guarantee you. But the fact of the matter is we can choose to focus on making education better, or we can choose to focus on making sure we got the right number of the right folks in the books. 48 or 49 is where we're at, getting the right people in the right places. My question that I get to ask is, why should we continue to fund a failed system? Why should we not be killing ourselves to have the State Board of Education? One of their few tasks is to approve charter schools. My question is, why are we not more active in the cultivating of the charter school program? We know its successes in Harlem. We know its successes in inner city communities. Why are we not using this as an alternative to the public school system? Why is that not something in Texas we're taking the lead on? Because 48 and 49, we failed miserably. We don't do that well. So let's turn it over to the private sector and see what we can do about getting school systems fixed. Thank you very much.